This week on Beacon Web News, we get the inside scoop on the state rep, city council, and mayoral elections. And we take a closer look at Yorick's 26th show, The Taming of the Shrew. All this coming up next on Beacon Web News. Hello and welcome to the November 8th edition of Beacon Web News. I'm Claire Harrison. Yesterday, November 7th, was Election Day, and North Adams was buzzing with excitement. Congratulations to Associate Dean of Information Technology, Ian Bergeron, for being elected to school committee. Seats for North Adams Mayor, North Adams City Council, State Representative for the 1st Berkshire District, as well as elections for the school committees were all up for grabs. BWN's Sam Niskern has the story on the mayoral outcome. Sam?
Tuesday, November 7th was Election Day countrywide. In the Berkshires, North Adams saw an election for the history books, with many new and returning faces vying for a seat as mayor, state representative, or city councilor. The mayoral seat in particular caused a lot of talk around the city, as this election was the first in 34 years to not include an incumbent. Previously, the title had belonged to either John Barrett III, who won the state representative seat, or Richard Alcombright, who decided to not run for office. This year, Republican candidate Bob Moulton Jr. faced off against Democratic candidate Tom Bernard. In a landslide victory, Bernard won the race with 2,324 votes to Moulton's 1,023. BWN had the chance to speak with Bernard after his victory to find out just what that means for the city.
I think we're going to be a little while figuring that out. I think it means that we're going to be continuing to build on the progress that we've enjoyed over the past few years, but it also means that we have to take a pause and we have to listen to the concerns that Councillor Moulton in his campaign brought forward and the voices of people who may feel that they're not fully represented in the progress that has happened.
I had the opportunity to announce the election results along with history professor Don Pecor, who talked about some of the differences in Moulton and Bernard's campaign.
For most of the campaign until the last couple of weeks was the difference in how they looked at Mass MoCA and MCLA, where candidate Bernard talked a lot about working with them and continuing in that direction for lack of a better phrase, creative economy. And candidate Moulton talked more and more about that wasn't enough and that they need to do more and they're not helping North Adams as much, et cetera.
Bernard continued, explaining what comes next for him.
Well, I'm a planner, and so it's really now I wake up tomorrow and I start putting together the plan to take the vision and the strategies that I've put forward and make those happen. So it's really going to be sitting down with the department heads in city departments and taking the ideas that I've put forward, some of the preliminary conversations that we've had that can only go so far when you're a candidate, and say, okay, now that I'm going to be stepping into this role, how do we put together a transition plan to move forward and tackle some of the issues that we've talked about.
Moulton has said that Bernard would be a continuation of the Alcombright administration, and clearly it seems that's what the people of North Adams want. When Bernard takes over for Alcombright on January 1st, the city will see if that's the case.
Thanks, Sam. BWN was also able to cover the state representative election outcomes as well. Julia Texera has more on the state rep race. Julia?
North Adams voters came out in droves today, Tuesday, November 7th, to decide who will represent them in local and state government for the next 2 years. Of particular importance was the race for city council. Over the past several weeks, 16 candidates, which included 5 incumbents, vied for the 9 spots on the North Adams City Council. Council President Benjamin Lamb led the pack at night's end, receiving 2,407 votes to win another term. In second was fellow incumbent Keith Bona, who earned 2,198 votes. Josh Moran, Eric Buddington, and Wayne Wilkinson also resecured their seats. Newcomers Marie Harpin, Paul Hopkins, Rebecca Cohen, and Jason LaForest will join them on the council, Harpin leading the new elects with 1,971 votes. BWN spoke to some of the candidates earlier in the day. who shared some of their expectations for the future of North Adams post-election.
My expectations is that we're going to have some really great change, and with the change in leadership, I see really positive things happening for North Adams.
North Adams has a lot of valuable farmland along the river that we're not using as farmland, but we could, and we need to make sure that our zoning laws protect that.
I know one thing, regardless of the outcome, we're going to have a well-qualified city council. I've seen elections time and time again in this city, and this is probably the strongest field of candidates I've seen in my 35 years here.
It's a great feeling out here. Everybody seems to have a great attitude. Everybody's looking forward to this election, and North Adams is going to be the winner. So, feeling great.
BWN's own Samantha Niskern and MCLA professor Don Pecor fielded a phone interview from new-elect Paul Hopkins on NBC-TC shortly after his win.
I think, honestly, some people will read this as a new direction, and there certainly is that in the election of Tom Bernard. I think on the city council, people want to see a council that is independent. I've talked to a number of people who said they want a council that challenges the mayor, that challenges the thinking, that asks the deep questions, that does the research. And I really do believe that's what you're going to see in the council that got elected tonight.
The victors will be sworn in on January 1st of next year. For Beacon Web News, I'm Matt Mears.
Thanks, Julia. And finally, Matt Mears took a trip to the polls yesterday and has the scoop on the city council election. Matt?
With the big turnout at the polls, the city of North Adams has elected a new state representative. The race for the state representative seat was fought between Republican Christine Canning and Democrat John Barrett III. Coming into the race, Barrett III was heavily favored as he already had experience in office as former mayor of North Adams. Canning, on the other hand, does not necessarily share the same experience as Barrett, but is a successful independent businesswoman from Lanesboro and had hoped to bring a fresh set of ideas to the community. Canning had made it clear throughout her campaign that even though she identifies as a Republican on the ballot, that she had made it clear that her political views are independent. In the end, John Barrett III won with 2,588 votes, and Canning received 681 votes. Barrett III will begin work on January 1st, and he hopes to see improved workforce training programs and wants to focus on economic development. And for Beacon Web News, I'm Julia Texera.
Thanks, Matt. This historic election will surely shape the path for North Adams' future for a number of years to come. This week, you can join Women's Center Wednesday with special guest President Burge. The event is today, November 8th, from 3 to 4 p.m. in the Campus Center, room 323. For more information on Women's Center Wednesdays, check out the Susan B. Anthony Women's Center on Facebook or at MCLA Women's Center on Twitter and Instagram. If you're wondering how art can be conceived from political and social ideas, you should check out a panel discussion with letterpress printer Amos Kennedy Jr., poet Holly Wren Spalding, and executive director and founder of PROO, Leora Kahn. Political and social ideas have sparked inspiration in each of their works throughout the years. The discussion will take place tomorrow night, November 9th, from 5 to 7 p.m. in Bowman Hall 319. Do you like cycling, cardio, or exercising? On November 9th, professor and guest cycler Amy Sinopoli will be offering an indoor cycling class in the Cutting Edge Fitness and Martial Arts Center. The class will take place from 6:30 to 7:30 at 73 Summer Street in Adams. If you're interested, make sure to contact Amy Sinopoli on Facebook. MCLA's Shakespeare Club Yorick presented their 26th show, The Taming of the Shrew, this past weekend. The production reimagined the comedy as a tragedy with an emphasis on domestic abuse. BWN's Karen Canella went to the show and was able to speak to the performers and the production team. Karen?
Yorick had their annual fall show, this time performing The Taming of the Shrew. The show explored ideas of domestic abuse in relationships through the lens of Shakespeare. It included comedic scenes while bringing awareness to recognizing abusive behaviors. Carrie Sotomayor, the director of the show, explained what she loved most from directing the production.
So incredibly rewarding, seeing everyone come together and knowing that, I was a huge part of that.
Sotomayor also says what the message of the show is and why domestic abuse is not just a 21st century issue.
Domestic abuse is an issue, and it doesn't. It's not time specific. It's unfortunately something that has been around for a while.
Sam Faulkner, a sophomore on campus, tells us why she enjoyed being the stage manager of the show.
It was fun because this was my first time working on a directorial team, so it was a learning experience throughout the entire time.
Faulkner also tells us the important themes of the show.
For people to look out for warning signs of an abusive relationship.
Devin Gibbs, one of the main characters of the show, explains the most exciting part about being in the production.
I think the most exciting thing was kind of seeing everything come together.
Gibbs also tells us why abusive relationships are an issue.
Abusive relationships are an issue. I mean, and it's, it doesn't matter what era it is, whether it's Shakespeare or whether it is the 50s or whether it's now. It's always a problem and it needs to change.
Rachel Barlett, one of the actresses in the production, mentions some of the themes she was most excited about for the show.
The tragic twist that we're doing on a classic Shakespeare play, and I'm also really excited for people to see me in my first comedic role.
Barlett also shines light on the importance of bringing awareness to abusive relationships.
There are very abusive relationships, and I think it's important that we draw attention to that because it's something that gets kind of glossed over and you don't hear about it as much.
Audience members tell us what their favorite part from the show was.
The acting was phenomenal.
Mainly the end.
I think my favorite part was Bianca's last line. I really liked the ending scene. I think it was super powerful.
There were so many funny parts, but then, they were complemented by all of these dark, serious moments.
Sophomore Amanda Gilmore says what she thought made the production unique.
Domestic abuse, emotional abuse line being in such a well-received comedic show is so interesting to me because I would have never seen it myself just from reading it.
Junior Jacob Valenti tells us how he felt about the show.
It was fantastic, well done, revamping the Julius Caesar idea in a different time frame, and I think this one was well done as well, being in the 50s.
Morrison Robble says why the production was a success.
It was performed wonderfully, they really executed it.
The show was a success and executed very well according to many of the audience members. Students hope to see more production like these by Yorick and are excited about what the upcoming spring semester will bring. For Beacon Web News, I'm Karen Canala.
I'm looking forward to see what show Yorick puts on next. Coming up this Thursday, November 9th, Common Folk will be having a public meeting at the Design Lab. Anyone who has ever been a member of Common Folk is invited to join in a discussion about the group's future. If you aren't a part of the group but have been interested in joining, you're welcome to attend as well. Creators of all ages are welcome. The meeting will take place from 6 to 8 p.m. at the North Adams Design Lab located at 49 Main Street. And on Monday, November 13th, the Student Activities Council will be hosting Attitude of Gratitude and a veggie carving contest. Stop by the Campus Center Marketplace from 5 to 7 if you wish to take part. This Saturday, the 11th, is Veterans Day, and the North Adams Armory is being dedicated to Army Specialist Michael R. DeMarsco II. DeMarsco, a Drury High graduate, was killed as a result of a roadside bomb while patrolling overseas in Afghanistan 5 years ago. The ceremony will commence at 12:15 p.m. on Saturday, November 11th, after the Veterans Day Parade and observances. Now let's go to Maggie Allen for this week's weather forecast to see just how much cold weather we're in for. Maggie?
Thanks, Claire. I'm Maggie Allen. Welcome to BWN's 7-day weather forecast. This week we're in for a big change in temperatures, making it feel a little bit more like winter. Starting with Thursday, it'll be mostly sunny with a high of 51 during the day and dropping to a low to about 38. Now that might feel like fall weather still, but that will change on Friday when we start the day with some showers in the morning. We'll bring in colder temperatures in the evening. Make sure you have an extra blanket on your bed because we're going to reach a low of 19 degrees. That's the lowest temperature this week. This weekend calls for some sun on Saturday and cold temps on a cloudy Sunday. Monday it'll warm up with a high of 45 degrees and a low of 36. The clouds will carry over into Tuesday morning and we'll get some sunny skies in the PM. To wrap up the 7-day forecast, we'll have partly cloudy skies on Wednesday with temperatures reaching a high of almost 50 and a low of 35. Looks like winter weather is giving us a little bit of a preview of the cold months ahead. Back to you, Claire.
Thanks, Maggie. When the weather starts to get cold, it's time to get your flu shots. Flu shots will be available in the Campus Center Marketplace on Tuesday, November 14th. The table is open to the entire campus community and will start at 11 p.m. Make sure to bring your insurance card and copays may apply. This weekend, MCLA's own radio station, WJJW, is presenting their annual fall concert, The Sound. The concert will feature live performances from the MCLA Jazz Band, Sons Lunaris, Immune Friction, House Sparrow, and WJJW's own Jacob Vitale will be the evening's MC. The event is co-sponsored by the Student Activities Council and will take place in Venable Gym on Saturday, November 11th from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. The Sound is completely free and open to the public. That's it for this episode of Beacon Web News. To stay updated with the latest Beacon Web News, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.